Today, we're turning my dad's BMW M5 into the ultimate 700 horsepower sleeper. From the factory, the M5 competition has more horsepower than a base Lamborghini Huracan. It has the practicality of being a full-size 5-seater, and it allows you to sail totally under the radar without unwanted attention, which is exactly how my dad wants it. And while it's a really good car from the factory, I can't let my dad drive stock, so today we're building him the ultimate stealth track weapon. First things first, let's throw it on our in-house dyno to see what we're working with, and then we'll get this party started. All right, we just got the car off the dyno. We did 3 back-to-back runs. We put down an average of 573 horsepower and 564 foot-pound torque to the wheels, which is mind-boggling. This car, while it might not look like it, it is an absolute wolf in sheep's clothing. But there's a huge problem. Although it's powered by a 4.4-liter twin-turbo V8, it sounds like a Dodge Caravan. So let's get this party started by cutting the exhaust off. All right, our DINAN Axleback exhaust is fully installed, but there's one more thing I want to do while we're here, and that's install our KIES valve controller. What the KIES valve controller allows you to do is control the exhaust valves and make them all the way open. Even when you're in sport mode with these BMWs with turbos, what BMW will typically do is they will open it a little bit, and then as you climb the RPM range, it will modulate it, robbing you of full sound and sometimes creating unnecessary back pressure. So with the KIES valve controller, with the press of a button, we can fully open it. So let's install that now. And to install it, all you do is you take the factory connection, plug it into our Y cable, take our other connection, plug it into the valve, lock it in place, and that's all there is. All right, the KIES valve controller and DINAN Axleback are fully installed. Let's take it out and see how good it sounds. Yeah.
That didn't make my ears ring at all.
So now the car sounds like a proper V8. It's time to allow it to breathe easy by adding these MST intakes. At this point in the process, we had the OEM intakes out, which reveals our air-to-water intercooler. So before we put that MST intake back in, while we're there, we might as well upgrade that to the best of the best. This is the CSF charge cooler for the F90 M5. And unlike the factory one that has brittle plastic and metal, we're going to upgrade that to the solid aluminum piece that offers double the cooling capacity to keep this car cool even at 700 horsepower. right, the CSF coolers are fully installed on the car. They look amazing and they're gonna keep the car nice and cool, especially while it's at 700 horsepower on the track. Now, whether your car is bone stock or maybe you have some lofty goals, one of the most important things you can do to your car is maintenance. And while we still have the intakes out, it is a great opportunity to help prevent misfires by upgrading our spark plugs and our ignition coils. Unfortunately, we did run into a little bit of an issue. You can see that there is all this nasty stuff all over it. This is a direct result of a failing coolant tank that is actually dumping coolant into the cylinders. Now, if you don't catch this early enough, it will blow your motor, but luckily BMW does have this part under a total recall. So as soon as we get done with some other things in the video that may or may not require an alignment, we're going to have the dealer take care of that as well to preserve this engine's life.
Quite the beast.
How's the intake sound? The car now sounds amazing with that MST intake, which is going to help the car breathe easy. We did spark plugs, we did coil packs, we even did a lot of coolant with the charge cooler, so it only makes sense to address the oil next. Not only are we going to cool it with a brand new MISHIMOTO oil cooler, but while we're there, we might as well do a fresh liquid moly oil change. All right, we have been doing a ton with maintenance and performance, but it's time to do a little aesthetic. As many of you know, the M5 CS was the car that debuted the yellow DRL. And being that this is an M5, it's very fitting. So let's make it happen. These DRLs, especially on the black car, are a total game changer. They make the car look so good. And while we do have other products that are going to make this car look good, what I want to do now is I want to address a critical suspension issue. So let's put the car up in the air, remove the wheels, and get back to work. Now in the rear of the F90 M5, you have two main problem areas. First, you have your trailing arm, which as you can see over here is literally just a piece of bent steel that looks like they found it in a recycling bin. And the second is the toe link, which is this one up here. Now the main issues have to do with the bushings, the poor construction of the trailing arm, and also flex that you're going to get in the toe link. And what can happen is as you accelerate hard, you can actually have issues where the toe of the wheel will go out. And as you brake, the opposite can happen where the toe can actually go in. And this is going to make your car car feel very unstable. However, we're going to be upgrading these to DINAN's link set, and what these are going to do are they are going to bring back stability and control. So with that, let's throw them in. All right, we just got done installing our suspension components from DINAN. As you can see, I do have some blue tape hanging. That's just a reminder for me. That's because when we do a final torque with any suspension components, you want to do it at ride height. So since we don't have wheels on the car, it's kind of hard to do that. Since the wheels are off, we might as well do some more upgrades. If you take a look over here, our brake rotors are pretty worn down. They have these really nasty grooves. So today we're going to be upgrading them to SHW because guess what? They probably make the rotors that are on your car now. They are an OE manufacturer, but when you buy from them, which we have at kies.com, you can save a ton of money over the dealer. And since we're adding a lot more power, we also need to make sure my dad can stop this car. So we're upgrading from our EBC red stuff, which are great for low noise and also low dust, to something a little bit more aggressive, which is why we're going with the blue stuff, which is engineered for the track, which this car will see with BMW CCA very soon. Now, to get started with the brake installation, we do have to have special software. We like to use Pro Tool from Beamer Geeks. And what this allows us to do is it allows us to disengage the electronic rear parking brake. Otherwise, it's going to be compressed and it's a giant pain in the butt to get it uncompressed. This is going to be safe and efficient. So let me put the car in service mode and we'll get started. All right, so as normally happens, the rotors got a little bit stuck on here. And instead of me whacking it with the hammer and this slamming down on my foot, I'm going to use a Kies wheel hanger to make sure that it comes off as controlled as possible. Look at that. No feet were sacrificed in the making of this film. All right, the brake pads, rotors, and fluid are all done. So now my dad has all of the stopping power that he's going to need. Now, speaking of stopping power, another thing we want to stop are rocks and road debris from shooting down the side of his car. So with that, let's install some TLG guards. Whoa, hold on. We took those off. I got something better. Much better. These are the DINAN DC3 fully forged wheels, as you can see in the brushed finish, which goes with the black way better than the OEM black wheels, in my opinion, of course. These also fit, in addition to the M5, the X3M and the X4M, and the sizing we went with was a 20x10 in the front and 20x11 in the rear, with the wheels wrapped in Toyo Proxy Sport tires. Now that the wheels are on the ground, let's move the car forward because we're not done yet. Now, being that this is a proper M car complete with a carbon fiber roof, it only makes sense that we add a few more carbon accents, starting with the trunk, because this isn't gonna do it. But as you guys know, sometimes when you're looking online for different products and whatnot, it's hard to see what it looks like on the car. So let's check out 4 different options and let my dad pick which one he likes best. All right, first up, we have M5 style. It's basically the same as what you had, but this one's carbon. What do you think?
A little small.
A little small. All right, time to go bigger. All right, next up we have performance style. This is what I used to have on my old F80 M3. What do you think of that one?
I like it a lot, but let's see something a little more aggressive.
All right, we'll make it happen. All right, next up we have M4. It's kind of like performance, but a little more aggressive. What do you think?
I like that one too. But let's see option 4.
All right, option 4. All right, last one. This is the high kick aggressive. Is this too aggressive? What do you think about this one?
I think it's too aggressive for me.
All right, why don't you go grab your favorite?
That's the one.
All right, performance it is. So why do you like this one?
It's not as aggressive, but it's a little more than what we had. It kind of,
all right.
Classic sleeper.
Classic sleeper, there it is. So now that we have some carbon on the trunk, it only makes sense to upgrade our mirror caps. All right, the mirror caps are fully installed. They look incredible. They go perfect with the trunk lip. It is just the right amount of carbon to maintain our sleeper status while looking super awesome. But you know what doesn't look awesome? This, check this out, ready? So in here, which we're getting really good at removing these grills, we noticed that these look really bad, especially this one over here. This one's super nasty. It's like rusty, it's all corroded, but we got this reflective tape. Kind of reminds me a little bit of like what BMW puts in their headlights. So I thought it might be a cool, unique look that is a lot better than this. And the good thing is it was pretty cheap. So if it doesn't look good, we'll just take it back off. All right, so that looks pretty good. Let's do the other side. Oh. Now that we have some really cool carbon on the outside of the car, I think we need some on the inside. Because if you take a look at the trim choice from BMW, I don't know what they were going for. It's like fake carbon fiber plastic, but silver. It just doesn't make any sense. And the contrast between the different colors in the interior, I don't think it goes at all. So today we're going to be taking his trim from this to this. So what do you think?
The carbon looks great. I hated that other stuff. That was terrible.
Speaking of terrible, what the heck happened to this wheel? Let's swap it out with a new one. All right, so now that we have the old grungy wheel off the car, look how faded and just beat it is. We have a genuine BMW OEM M5 CS wheel in Alcantara. Check that out. Complete with M stitching. This wheel is going to look and feel so good in this car, but there's one other thing we need to do while we're there, and that is upgrade the paddle shifters. These ones from the factory, they just feel super cheap, so we're going to be upgrading to some of our KIES magnetic paddle shifters that give you that instant feedback, and you're gonna have concrete shifts. So let's get everything transferred over from this wheel to this one.
Feels great. Paddle shifters are solid. They sound really good.
All right.
So what's next?
Two more things. First, we're going to be installing a can check. This mounts securely into your dash, and it acts as a nice little display where you can see your boost, you can see your temperature, you can even see things like 0 to 60, and you can program it to even read your ethanol content. So much information is packed into this little device, almost like having a personal computer in your dash. All right, it's time to hit the dyno again and do some final tuning to see what kind of power we could put down in my dad's F90 M5. But before we head out, there's one last thing we need to do. Because the weather's not too good outside, we're going to throw in some WeatherTech floor liners, and then we're gonna go back to the dyno and tune the car. 93 octane alone on boot mode, we were able to do 606 horsepower to the wheels and 616 foot-pound torque. Amazing numbers on 93 octane, and again, 4 catalytic converters. But it's time to have some fun and see if we can hit 700 horsepower. But to do that, we're going to need to flash a new HCP custom E40 map. Now, if you have a map like E40, what that means is 40% ethanol. The remainder 60% is going to be 93 octane. So let's throw in some Ignite Red and see if we can hit 700 horsepower. All right, with a little bit of E40 and some HCP magic, we were able to do an average of 702 horsepower to the wheels in my dad's M5. It's about a 130 horsepower bump, but we didn't stop there because our torque went up to 677 foot-pounds. Now, one of the things you have to be careful with these cars, you don't want the torque to be too out of control. Yes, we could have easily put that into the 700s, but we don't want to bend our rods, especially since it's my dad's car. And again, we did 700 horsepower with 4 catalytic converters. Halim absolutely worked his magic, and this car is an absolute monster. So let's take it for a drive and see what my dad thinks. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. This thing is violent.
Oh yeah. That was a little harder than normal.
Joe, you gonna throw it back there?
Yeah, no.
And that concludes my dad's Leaper 700 horsepower F90 M5 build. We added over 130 horsepower to the wheels and 110 foot-pound torque. Overall, what do you think?
I think it looks great.
And you can fly under the radar.
Very much so.
It's not like a purple Lamborghini. If you're looking to build your BMW or Porsche, visit us at kies.com. In the description of this video, you're going to find links to all the parts and tools we use on my dad's build. And if you need any help on what to do to your car, email my team at info@kies.com, KIES.com, and we'll be happy to help you out. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.